what you want to do, I'll humbly submit to you again, what you want to do, Pat, is try to get off that leather went up, so we're going to go up.
Right.
What you want to do is, we're adding value, so we're taking a price, because we're worth it. And then, don't worry, we'll keep track of leather for you. So that's what you really want to do. And I've been in some industries, I was in the cereal business for a while. And then it was all about wheat, corn, and sugar. And those were all commodity. All the buyers had charts on their tables when you came in that showed you like exactly, and we had to get off that. We had to get off that. And what we talked about is the value, shipping times and extra incentives. We got off the commodity pricing, therefore we're taking a price increase. The more, and it's not easy, because they're going to ask you about it all the time. I'm not suggesting this stuff is simple, this is hard. But the more you can get off that cycle, you'll be differentiated from competitors, and they won't be able to track it as accurately. That's what you want to do, so they don't know that commodities went up 5 and you're going 5.1. What you want to do is take 6, and then commodities go 5 later, and you got your 6 in,
right?
And you got an extra point. And then maybe, I am a big proponent of giving stuff back to your customers. Take a price decrease. Anybody ever done that here? Yeah, take a price decrease intentionally. Not because they're pressuring you, not because the cost went down. And this is like one of those things that'll blow your customers' minds. And you don't just do it because you want to make less margin. You do it because you figured out something. And I've done some things with customers where I said, if you'll allow us to do longer runs for you and ship less frequently, we'll pass along that savings to you. And then we give them 40%, we keep 60, but they didn't know that. You gave them something, you asked for something and gave them something. And they said, that's a win, we like that. And everybody was happy and you got a price increase out of it. So did that kind of help you think through? Yeah. So maybe you could have taken a little bit more, obviously don't beat yourself up on it, but if you can get off the cycle, and there's a lot on, kind of understanding what your competitors are going to do too. And I always like to, you can, depending on what industry you're in and who your competitors are, you can either beat them or react to them. And both are acceptable and great strategies, and depending on your company, I need to know a little bit more about it. And so, sometimes your competitor can go, and then you take 1% more. Or sometimes you want to beat your competitor. Most of the time, I like to beat the competitor. I like to just get off the cycle and beat them. And then they're going, what's going on? And they're not going to react in a day. They might go, oh, we got to think about it, our cost, and we got to wait and see. They're 4 months later, they take a price increase, you take one more, you take another one with another %. Now, you may not be able to do that in your industry, but if that's the way you think about it, if they're going to take a 4%, I'm going to beat them to the punch and take 5. And then if they take 5, that's okay, but they might take 4. Because if they come in and say, here's the commodity pricing, and they're tied to that cost, the buyer's going to go, hey, commodity leather went up 4, you get 4. And you've already gotten in there at 5.
Right.
So that would be what I would kind of humbly submit. Try to beat them to the marketplace, if you can. So that's the time period. Is that kind of making sense? Sure. This might be kind of like twisting the way you think about pricing a little bit, and hopefully it is. Because I think there's opportunities that you guys can get here. And again, if you get 1% or 0.5%, it's big, it's huge. So that's the first piece. When do you take pricing? Then how to take pricing. First, remember we talked about this. This is the same customer chart I had up here before. And this is a key piece for pricing, because a lot of times people say, yeah, we kind of changed by customer. Think about it strategically. These guys, big price increase immediately. These guys, get long-term pricing, extend these guys. These guys, add services. Add services, because you love these guys. They're platinum. And I've had a bunch of chairs and members say, should you tell your customers they're platinum? Yeah, you should. Not you're platinum, you're really important to us. You're platinum because you get all this stuff. We're giving you extra services. You're very important to us, we're giving you extra services. And then what it does is over time, that positioning differentiates you and allows you to take a little bit more pricing. What I would do for customers that I work with here, every invoice, every memo, everything you're sending them, you tell them, here's what you're getting. your platinum pricing. So for example, going back to Kellogg's, we would have like 7 bullet points on every memo we sent, or not Kellogg's. When I was at Sargento McDonald's, we have like 7 bullet points. You get this commodity buying service that we offer. You get extra R&D customized. You get all this stuff because you're platinum. And so what it does is, again, over time, it positions you differently than competition. So think about how you can constantly tell them, and then add more services and take a little bit of pricing there. And because nobody knows how much services cost. So whatever you add, you can take more than it costs you. And then you got a secret price increase, and you're giving them more.
Did you give it a name? Did you give it a name like you're a member of a platinum club or
Right.
a gold club or
Yep.
whatever? And these are all the extras that you get because you're a member of the club?
It's like you're like frequent flyer, or it's
Right.
like if you go into a Hyatt or something and you're on the gold or whatever, they go, here's your water, here's a tip, but the water costs you them 12 cents, and you feel better because you go up to the room and there's a $4 water. I go, I got $4 water. So think about it that way. That's exactly it, Fritz. Think about how you do it. And then down here, can you have incentives to get them up in business? So if you business goes up this, a lot of companies do this already, but you want to get these guys laddered up to here. Remember, these are the guys with lots of potential, but they're small for you now. So how do we give them incentives to get them up? Give them tiered pricing. Your volume goes up here, your pricing goes down here. And then you'll figure out how to make that in the long term. But if you think about it from a customer standpoint, think about pricing strategically to your customers, as opposed to tactically from a cost standpoint. Cost has nothing to do, I could care less about the cost right now. I'm thinking about strategically, how important are those customers to us? And therefore, how should we price to them? Is that kind of making sense? Is that kind of like a different twist maybe on how you're thinking about it? So that's the first is customer, then the second is product family. So this is the same chart with your product portfolio. So think about that. So here's your products, your best-selling product, or if you're in services, here's your best-selling services. And here's the potential of that product or service. And again, this is kind of a cool chart to have. So it allows you to look at your portfolio and your customers, and then think about how do I price for these things. So these guys should take above pricing. These guys take price increases. If it's a small product and it doesn't have much potential, that product family should get a price. So you overlay this to the customers, and you're saying the product and the customers, you have a little kind of matrix, and you start saying, that's what I want to do. So over here, and also over here, take cost out of these products. Keep the price the same, take cost out. This is where you can take, again, a secret price increase. Because you're saying, I don't make that much, and there's not that much potential, I'm going to take the raw ingredients out. I'm taking costs down. And I'm keeping the price. So in the shoe business, you're taking the leather grade, you're taking the lace, blah, 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 the rubber. You're taking little stuff out of this all the time here because they're not strategically important to you. So get your margin here. Get your secret price increase by taking costs out and keeping the price the same. Your customer shouldn't know. They might, depending if they ask for all the stats. But you can secretly do, not secretly, you can do this over time and make better margins here. And then this one, add innovation and take the price up in these products up here. So add, do better, 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 and then add commensurate pricing. Hopefully commensurate plus a little bit, but even if you just get commensurate and they grow, that's okay. That's okay, because they're growing and that's an important piece. So that's customer and product. So then the next piece is this whole notion of communicating value. So you want to get off this, my cost went up, therefore I'm taking a price increase. If you can kind of go, just punt that whole statement from all your salespeople, all your finance people, and your mind, that's going to be terrific. What you want to think about is, what value am I adding? And do I get the right price for that in the marketplace? So what is your point of difference in the marketplace? Everyone should know that, be able to articulate that, and be able to articulate it to your customer and saying, our point of difference is this, therefore our price is this. So your point of difference should be, we're better than a bunch of people, therefore our price should be higher. That's kind of the net of the whole thing. Because if you're saying we aren't different, then your price can't be different. and you're the same. So the more you understand this, and this goes again back to all that stuff, voice of customer and those kinds of things, understand it, then that's critical. And then kind of communicate that all the time. So I've had companies put it on their invoice. Here's our point of difference. You're sending them a bill. You don't send them a bill, you owe us $14,000. You say, here's the value we're giving you. All these things we're doing. And by the way, that value is commensurate for a market price of $14,000. Or hopefully 15, 16, 17. But you're reminding them of why you're different and why you're better. Not our costs went up so that we're taking a price increase. Is that kind of resonating with you guys? Always lead with value. If you can, where possible, brand it, own it, communicate it. Brand everything you can. You know, you can brand services, you can brand approaches. We did a great project with a building company, high-end building company, and we helped them brand their process. I love branding processes. You know, so even if your product isn't different, how you deliver it can be. So their whole process of building, because they were outsourcing everything to contractors, which made the house over there too. So the product was not different. It was the process was different. And so what we did is we worked with this builder to figure out how do you develop this better process. They were doing half to 2/3 of it already. They had a better process. We just helped them define it and own it. But we helped them do things like every day the people who were having their house built would get 15 photos of what's going on with the builder talking about it. So every day they got an update, so they didn't have to come to the house. At the end they got a big book, a nice hardcover book that they could put on their coffee table. We, by the way, sent them 5 more to send to their friends and gave them a bottle of wine to send to their friends and say, please come over and see our new house with a really good bottle of wine and a book. And lo and behold, the friends would open the book and look at it and go, oh, these builders are really, boom, boom, boom. That's a referral program, referral marketing. But this whole notion of branding it, we branded that process. So they had a process. So when you came in and you bought a house, you go, we have this process that's different than everyone else. Or like one company I work with, they were really good at customer service, but everybody says we're really good at customer service. So I said, well, let's brand that. Let's brand that. So the way they were doing it is they kind of had one person sort of manage it for a customer. So instead of, I got an engineering question or I got a building question and they sent you, we said we're gonna have one person do it. So we branded it Concierge Customer Service. And we showed them, they had 2 customer service people, one was Sue and one was Mary. So each person, each customer, got a picture and said, here's Mary, she's your customer service, she's your concierge customer service. You want anything? Call her. You got a billing question? Call Mary. You got an engineering question? Call Mary. Mary will make it happen for you. And then, you know, that grid with the customers, somebody in the upper right quadrant called, Mary was, hold on, I call you back in 45 seconds, I'm gonna run to engineering. She would like run to engineering, come back, call them back and say, okay, here's what I know, I gotta get back to you tomorrow. You know, customer service was boom, blew out of the ballpark. And then when you go to new customers and you say, hey, we have good customer service, which everyone says, we would say, we have concierge customer service. What do you think they did when we said that?
What's that?
Now you're talking about customer service. And you got a differentiated customer service. So it's a way to kind of own it, brand it. So think about, that gets you pricing. It gets you pricing. Maybe not this year, but it gets you pricing next year. So when you get off that cycle and you take that 5% instead of 4%, they go, oh man, those guys are great. And it slides, it goes through, because you guys are differentiated. So that's kind of the whole notion of how do you communicate value. You gotta find the value, but then don't be afraid to communicate it. You know, I always say marketing is too important to leave to the marketers. This stuff is really important. And a lot of companies kind of go, we're really good at that, but we don't want to tell anybody. Or we don't know how to tell anybody. Make sure you figure out how you tell somebody, and how you tell somebody, how you brand it and own it, and do it in a cool way, and then communicate it to them. Like, a lot. More than you think you should or need to. Constantly communicating with people. So, I blasted through the pricing piece pretty quickly. Did that resonate with people? I didn't give you kind of like, here's the mathematical tools to get 1/10 of a point more. It's more of the strategic piece. But maybe it gave you guys a sense of, hey, I think maybe I should spend a little bit more time on pricing next year, and here's a couple of thoughts on maybe where I can look and how I can start. Did that Did I achieve that maybe with you guys? Any questions on pricing? You guys want to delve into that a little bit more? Did I go way too fast? No? Okay, cool. So here's kind of the how you use it. Are you maximizing pricing? Do you have a strategy? Pricing by customers, product families? How do you plan to add value? This was a key strategy piece for me. I said, where are we going to add value this year so that we can take pricing next year? Oh shoot, I don't know, maybe we don't have time to do it this year. Well, then you won't get pricing next year. So what are you going to do this year to add value? It's a great question to ask your team and to maybe spend a couple hours, in some management piece. Chris,
Who do you usually see owning and driving this process?
Well, who do I see versus who would I like to see?
What's most effective?
Most effective is the CEO with outside help. What normally happens is, as I mentioned, it's either a sales or a CFO, finance kind of, or some combination is normally what happens, and it becomes a numeric thing instead of a strategic thing. I would love for you guys to run it, but it's hard, with everything else you're doing, it's hard for you guys to just run it and go, oh man, I don't have time to do that. But if you had a plan, like here's how we're going to get off cycle this year in pricing. Here's how we're going to add value next year in pricing so we can take a little bit more. Here's what we're going to do year 3. You almost do that horizon pricing. That, for you guys to just go away and do that right now by yourselves would probably be kind of tough. But you can use people, and don't get a pricing expert, because what they'll do is a mathematical model for you. What you need is a strategic pricing expert. There's a few around. We have a couple. I'm one of them. We got another guy in Chicago who's written a book. We got a couple of people who teach it in addition to. So I would suggest the best way is for you to take it on. Have someone help you get a process in place. It's not a huge project, but it could pay some big dividends. I mean, it's worth hundreds of thousands, I'm sure, to each one of your companies, and probably millions to a couple of your companies. If you do it really well, and your competition, if you do it really well, your competition won't know what hit them. They will just go, what are these guys, what? They took a price increase? What? Should we take one? I don't know. It's great. I mean, it's great. You get the competition spinning. They don't know what to do. So, did that answer it?
Yes.
Okay. The last one I'm going to talk about really briefly is this random acts of marketing, which was kind of interesting. I only have like 2 charts in here. Because I know your previous speaker was talking about digital and such. I'm really going to just talk about kind of how sales and marketing has changed over the last couple of years, and how you can think about it. So I'm just going to get into it. So this is a key, interesting chart for us. This is just kind of the buying process for most either customers or consumers. So generally you're aware, you have interest, you consider it, you have an intent, you evaluate, you purchase it, and you manage the people down here. This is kind of, just sort of a standard approach of how people buy stuff. And if you go back in the very recent history, and you think about sales and marketing, it was really kind of the marketing did this stuff up here, awareness, interest, maybe a little bit of consideration, and then the salespeople took over and did this and intent and answered questions and did all sorts of stuff and managed the process. And that's kind of how the thing worked. However, because of technology, that's changed dramatically in the last couple of years, and really, really dramatically in the last year or two, to the point that it's now more like this. So what's happening is people are becoming aware and interested in considering your product and intent and evaluation, and oftentimes will purchase without ever touching a salesperson. So said another way, your salespeople might go, I'm getting less leads, my leads aren't as good, and they'll have no idea why, because people were considering you and then opted out, and your salespeople and you never even knew it. So and again, we love factoids. So I don't know what this percent was like 5 or 10 years ago, but if you took every industry in the US, because we measure this, and you said what percent of your buyer's journey is handled before a salesperson is ever contacted, what would you guys say that percent? It's kind of given.
80, 90.
You guys are like that on. Of course, the chart kind of, but it's 84% across all industries.
Yeah.
So 84% of the buyer's journey happens before a salesperson is contacted. So what happens is, they go, I'm going to buy whatever. I'm going to buy an unequipped, what was heat exchanger. Okay, heat exchanger. So I'm going online. I'm looking at stuff. Hey, I've narrowed it down to 4 or 5 companies. Originally. Now I'm going to get that 4 or 5 to 1 or 2. I'm going to get it to 2. And if you guys didn't make it in that last 2 cut, you'd never know. You'd never know. Whereas over here, they narrow it down to 5, and then you have salespeople talking to you. Now you don't. And they might even take it all the way to purchase. So like, I bought a car a year and a half ago. I didn't even want to talk to anybody there. I mean, I came in and said, I saw your VIN number of this car and VIN number of this car. Could you bring them around? Because I went online, I got the pricing, I got everything. And the guy starts talking to me about the. I got it. I don't need your help. If it was a kiosk, I'd just come in and push the 2 buttons and look at them and go, that one. So that's obviously a B2C, but that's the way the market is going. And actually, a bunch of the software stuff, it's like 98% is done before anybody.
An example, we were just talking about this in my office yesterday. A number of us have bought mattresses for a bed, and to think about that, maybe for your master bedroom.
Yeah.
And I thought about that. Oh, going to the furniture stores, going through the thing, laying on the beds. And I heard different ones who were buying them online, and I was amazed. I bought a mattress in a night. I went online, they had the videos, the people, telling that they were answering all the things you would ask about.
Mm-hmm.
I could bring up another one that showed the top 10 rated mattresses and what was the difference between them and how close it was. And literally, I was blown away. I didn't have to waste any of my weekend running around doing this.
Mm-hmm.
I did it in an hour or 2 in the evening. It was delivered to my house, rolled up in a box. And it's true. I did everything in the marketing, and the sales part was nothing.
Yeah, it was you had 0. Did you get it online?
Yep.
You had 0 sales, so you went all the way down here.
Yes.
The unfortunate thing for a lot of companies, small to mid-sized companies, is their senior resources tend to be here. And their junior resources or no resources tend to be here. So here, that was the right mix. Here, you're kind of going, if you've got nobody or an agency, or if you've got a junior person down the hall, they're doing random acts of marketing, probably. Because they don't know what the strategy should be to deliver against that. So that's kind of the first piece. But the good news is here, if this is kind of one of, oh crap, I hate this chart. The good news is, your competitors don't see this. They do not. And this is one of those benefits of Vistage, where you come in and you get people like us coming in and talking to you guys all the time and saying this, because I work with a lot of people who are not in Vistage, and they do not see this coming. They do not see it. All they get is, our sales leads are not as good, we have less leads, I need to hire more salespeople, I need to get a sales trainer in here. They have random acts of sales, but they don't understand this. So this is where you can benefit, and I know, I'm just going to build this. I know we were talking earlier about Big M versus Little M. This is how we think about marketing, Chief Outsiders. There's 2 kinds of marketing. Big M is strategic. How do you go to marketing? So this is going to market. Little M is tactical marketing. What we've been doing a lot of talking about is these pieces here, but importantly, these are the ones that are really critical as you think about it. Because pricing is in here, segmentation, we barely touched on segmentation, but segmentation is critical. Messaging, differentiation, and positioning, really critical. Products and services and designs and those kinds of things. This is the stuff that, in marketing is so critical. It all then flows into this stuff. If you've got this right, your website is so easy to write, because you go, oh, here's where we're better than people, here's our competitive set, here's what they want, therefore here's what we're going to say. As opposed to, where do I want the button? And which trade shows you go to, really, really important. So this is this whole notion of random access sales and marketing, spending more time here, and I don't know, where do you guys spend most of your time? This side or this side, if you were thinking of marketing and even in sales? Where are you spending your time now? You're spending on the big end? Good for you. That's a rarity, frankly, but that's great. Where do you spend a lot of time over here? Yeah, okay, knowing what you guys are really good at. And have you validated that in the marketplace to make sure that that's what you're good at?
Listening to people is always, I'll be doing this.
Great, great.
I know what caught my attention the first time you spoke with us, Dave, was we were pouring our heart and souls into Little M, and, you know, like I said, I took it back and talked to John about it, we realized that. And so that's where, working with Mark now, that we are focusing on the other side.
Yeah, if you could spend a little more time here, this becomes so much easier and so much more productive and focused and, yeah. So that's, I know I've kind of run over a little bit. That's totally used. You know, I always like to put up kind of what do you guys think for 2019? Did this help you, give you any thoughts? You know, maybe some thoughts in 2019 about understanding your business marketplace better. You know, really doing a deep dive. We do a lot of deep dives on competitors, and we do. Oh shoot, now I forgot the name of it. But there's like some jousting exercises where your competitor's better than you or not in a whole variety of different areas. We do a bunch of that stuff. We do voice of customer, but you know. You don't have to go through us, but that sort of stuff, understanding your marketplace better is really critical. Is that something that you guys think? Or maybe new growth plan or strategic pricing or more business from current customer or conversely expanding, eliminating random acts? Where do you guys see maybe from some of this discussion where you're maybe kind of interested and thought-provoked to contemplate, you know, a new area here? Anything that stands out?
We did the voice of customer.
Uh-huh.
It was not as expensive as you would think, you know, Mark put us up with a professional. That really opened our eyes and helped us then be able to write our value prop and, you know, everything. It was very much an eye-opener for us to do that voice of customer and see what they valued and how we were perceived, what they valued in our competitor and so on. That was excellent for us.
Jeannie, what was your biggest surprise?
Well, I think it pulled us away from, we had been using for a long time, speed to market, you know, that when schedule counts, we really did find out that that was down the line. It really did confirm that price was down the line. And the gut feel that we had about they're looking for someone to really be the expert and take care of them. All those things were really validated for us, helped us set up to begin to move forward. Ron, I don't know if there's anything else that stood out to you.
That was the biggest one. We had a suspicion of that, and we were ready to build our marketing plan around that. And Mark suggested, why don't we validate it before we do that? Or,
Yeah.
Head down the wrong path. And we were pleasantly surprised. We were pretty close to right on the money.
Good, good. Yeah, that's terrific. That's terrific. Anybody else have some thoughts here coming out of today that maybe just insight? You don't have to get on this page, but just insights that you got today that were intriguing for you?
I like we play in a lot of different markets and looking at like the ITR trends of each market rather than kind of lumping it together in an aggregate. I can see a lot better, you know, we're better to take a price increase here, it's more challenging.
Mm-hmm. Great. Anybody else have some thoughts they want to add? Anything else that you had, Fritz?
I think we're good.
Okay. Could I ask a favor? I do a lot of these, and I always am trying to make sure that we're adding value, so I always love to get feedback, because the last thing I want to be doing is, I think it was good, but, so I do have a little questionnaire here. I know sometimes that you guys do some of these. And in this, there's also, if you want some more information, if you kind of say, ooh, pricing, cool, I don't know how to start, you know, you can just mark in your pricing, and I'm happy to, you know, reach back out to you guys. Also, I do have 2 books, and if you want a book, or if you want a couple of your team to get a book, you know, we're happy to send them right to you guys, and, you know, happy to send a couple so you can hand them out to people. or if you want to hand them out to friends or people at church.
And the book covers,
The book is kind of the growth, when you talk about those gears, it kind of goes into detail on those. So it'll cover some of the, like, some competition. It has some sections on pricing. It's a little different than what I talked about here, but it has a variety. What I always suggest to people, there's like a 18-page setup up front. Read that, and if you go, great, then read the book. If you don't like that, give it to somebody else, or pitch it. But, so I'll leave these two here. You guys can do whatever you want. If you do want a book, more books, feel free to just write it in here, and I'm happy to